Welcome, everyone. Today, we're diving into a really critical concept in the world of AI governance. You see, there's a hidden danger that can make even the strongest-looking regulations, well, completely powerless. It's what's known as the paper tiger risk. And understanding this is key to seeing why some of our most important laws might not be the shields we think they are.
So, let's start with the central question. What exactly turns a law into a paper tiger? It's a really powerful metaphor, right? And to really get a handle on the risk it represents, we first have to understand what the term actually means.
The term itself is just brilliantly descriptive. A paper tiger is something that on the outside looks fierce, looks impressive, maybe even threatening. But the moment you actually challenge it, you find out it has no real power. It's all show and absolutely no substance. Now, when we apply this idea to law, we're talking about legislation that looks solid, has all the right language, but it lacks any real teeth to actually be enforced.
Okay, so where can we see this risk playing out in the real world? For our case study today, we're going to look at Indonesia's Personal Data Protection Law, or the PDP law. It's a perfect example of a law that was created with the best intentions, but when you look a little closer, you start to see this hidden paper tiger risk.
Now, on the surface, the PDP law does exactly what you'd want it to do. It sets up the core principles for how personal data is supposed to be handled and protected. It even lays out penalties for anyone who breaks the rules. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it looks like the foundational rulebook for data privacy in the country.
But, and this is a huge but, here's the catch. This quote from our source material just nails it. This one sentence pinpoints the entire problem. You see, the law's power isn't automatic. It's conditional. It completely depends on having specific technical regulations to back it up. And guess what? Those regulations are missing. And that brings us right to the heart of the issue. These missing rules. This is the gap in governance that threatens to make the whole law ineffective. So let's get specific and look at exactly what's absent here. So the law is missing these incredibly specific technical standards that are just essential for governing modern AI. We're talking about things like enforceable rules for how accurate an algorithm has to be, or mandatory testing to check for hidden biases, and firm requirements for actually auditing these complex systems. I mean, think about it. Without these, how can you really know if an AI is working fairly and correctly? You can't. Now, in legal terms, the problem is a lack of what's called lex specialis. It's a Latin phrase, sounds fancy, but the idea is actually simple. You need specialized laws for specialized, complex subjects. General rules about data just can't handle the unique challenges that AI throws at us. You know, these gaps often happen because technology moves at lightning speed, way faster than legislation can keep up. This creates a vacuum where a law exists in name, but not really in practice. And this legal gap creates a really dangerous situation. It's a scenario we can call paperwork versus protection. It basically sets up a story of two totally different kinds of compliance, and only one of them actually keeps people safe. This slide just lays it out so clearly. Over on the left, you have procedural compliance. This is all about satisfying documentation requirements. It's literally just checking boxes, filing the right papers to prove you followed a process. But then on the right, you've got substantive action. This is about actually dealing with real-world algorithmic harms, getting into the code, analyzing the data, and making the system genuinely safe and fair. The danger of a paper tiger law is that it only asks for the paperwork, while letting companies completely ignore the real, substantive work needed for actual protection. And that brings us to the critical point. An organization can follow the letter of the law, fill out every form perfectly, and appear totally compliant to the public and to regulators. But all the while, their AI systems could still be creating biased outcomes, making harmful decisions, and causing real damage to people. It creates a complete illusion of safety and accountability. Now, this doesn't just happen in a vacuum. The consequences ripple outward, and they lead to something we can call the trust deficit. Let's actually trace the domino effect that starts with just one weak law.
This chain of events is just so logical and so damaging. It all starts with those gaps in the law, the missing technical rules. Because of those gaps, algorithmic harms, things like discriminatory hiring tools or unfair loan decisions, they just continue, completely unchecked. That in turn weakens legal protection for everybody. A person might have rights on paper, but if they can't prove a system was biased because there are no standards for bias, well, do they really have a right at all? And of course, the final domino to fall is public trust. When people realize the system meant to protect them is toothless, their faith in the entire governance of AI just starts to crumble.
And really, this is the main takeaway today. The ultimate victim of a paper tiger law isn't some abstract legal principle. No, it's something far more valuable and far more fragile: public trust. And without that trust, the entire project of integrating AI safely and ethically into our society starts to fall apart at the seams.
Which leaves us with a pretty fundamental question to think about. If a law is on the books, but it can't actually be enforced in the real world to protect real people, does it truly exist in any meaningful way? That's something for you to consider. Thanks for joining me.